Hey guys, I am Game Advisor and welcome to our V-Rising Beginner's Guide. Let's go ahead and just jump right on into it and give you all the information you need to know when you're first getting started in the game. Now, all this information I'm giving you is going to be after the tutorial, which does not take that long at all. I think we completed it in about 5 to 10 minutes. It's not that complicated, but the game does kind of just drop you into the world and expect you to figure it all out on your own. So one of the things that you're going to want to know is that sunlight in this game can be incredibly annoying and very, very deadly. Early on, the sunlight can be one of the most frustrating things to deal with. Now, it's worth mentioning that the daylight hours are about 1/3 of the nighttime hours, which you can see in the top right corner of your screen as to which time of day it is. But you're still going to have to go out at daytime. And when you do, there is ways that you can help yourself to deal with that sunlight a little bit better. The first thing you're going to want to craft is going to be the Traveler's Wrap, which is something very early on you'll get in your first crafting bench that will give you some sun resistance. This is really nice to have. It's not absolutely vital, but it will help you a lot when dealing with the sun. The next thing you want to take note of is that different NPCs have different blood types and percentages of purity. The higher the percentage that enemy has when you drink their blood, the bigger the buff you will get. For an example, the Rogue buff may give you some critical strike at first, but if you have a high enough percentage, you'll also get move speed, whereas the Worker may give you a chance to instantly destroy a rock or any other thing you might be harvesting, while just by default, if you have a low percentage buff, you might only get something like, say, harvesting a little bit faster. Now, the next thing we should talk about is base building. When you first start off, you may be tempted to build your base in the first place you can find, but I encourage you to take the time to find somewhere good to set it up. This is because your base is going to cost a lot of resources and it can be arguably pretty expensive to move it depending on when you do so. The first thing I'll say with base building is just make sure you have plenty of space. When you go to place down the actual heart of your base, you're going to have a percentage number next to that heart when placing it. The higher the percentage, the more space you'll be able to build in with that heart. You'll also notice that there are some pieces of terrain that are kind of elevated. This is really important because you can create choke points where people can only go up that direction to get into your base. You can jump down from that height, but they cannot jump up to it. This is incredibly useful because you can create a choke point on a PvP server where you'll be able to prevent them from getting in through any other direction. It is also worth mentioning that if you're not on a PvP server, just make sure you have plenty of space or build anywhere you want. Just keep in mind you may be limited if you have a low percentage. Another thing related to building is that you'll get an item called a Vampire Lockbox. You can craft this in your castle, and when you place it down, anything inside cannot be taken by other players. Now, to be fair, I can't speak for hardcore PvP servers, but on default ones, this will not be looted whatsoever. Once you have your base set up, the next thing you might want to do is go ahead and get your mount early on by traveling to this location in the farmlands a little bit farther north. Mounts are everywhere, and to get on them, all you have to do is hold F and then you'll be able to ride around. If you hit tab, you'll also be able to see its speeds, and make sure that you give it water if you do want to keep it for a long period of time. Otherwise, it will eventually die. At some point in the game, you're also very likely to get stuck. When this happens, I suggest you go to your blood altar and see if there's anything there that you can actually use as far as boss unlocks go. The way you progress in this game is by downing bosses to unlock new recipes that you can then use to craft better items. So if you're wondering how do I get this thing, or what do I need to do with this, or how do I craft something, your best bet is usually going to be going to your blood altar and going to see which boss actually gives you the recipe you need. Now lastly, I just want to give you guys some quick tips. The first thing is that you want to stockpile plenty of bones, as it's used in tons of things in this game. The first thing you're going to want to use it in is a smoke screen that you can build inside your base, because when you first build a base you won't have a roof, which means the sun will still burn you. This will give you a smoke screen so that you don't die to it, and then you also want to make sure you are never consuming or wasting unsullied hearts. These are going to be very important early on in your progression. Next is that if you hold left control, or whatever that little wheel is for your keybind, you can expose your vein. This will allow a friendly player to get half of your buff in the blood you currently have. So if, say, you land on 100% buff, they can steal that, and now you both have half a bar of 100% buff, so you guys can use that to help fight maybe a boss or something. Following that is that you can use the Compulsively count button when depositing materials to quickly deposit materials into chests. This will make it so that any items in your inventory that are already in the chest will automatically deposit. Very simple, but very helpful. Next is that machines will just run while you're offline. So if you have a sawmill or a grinder going, if you log off and come back in an hour or two, odds are it will probably have finished its production, so you didn't have to sit around and wait. After that is another tip for when you're playing with other players. If you learn a recipe, you can go to that research bench and then your friends can learn that same recipe as well. Then the last thing I just want to very quickly mention is that when you get to the iron deposits, you're going to have to go up north into the next zone in order to actually find them. This is what they look like, but you can find a lot of them in this cave. You also will need a merciless copper weapon, and you can use things such as axes. They do not have to be the mace in order to mine them. This will help you a lot because we spent a good hour or two just trying to find this stuff. So if you're wondering where iron's at or how to gather it, that's how you do it, and that's where it is. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to see more V-Rising content, consider subscribing to our channel and liking this video to let us know. We'll most likely be putting out a bunch of V-Rising videos here in the near future, so if you want to see more, like I said, do like and subscribe to the channel as it lets us know that that's what you guys want to see. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Game Advisor, and I'll see you next time.